those of you that don't know me, for those that do know me, you're about to get to know a little bit more about me. Let's talk about grief. Most people attribute grief to the loss of a loved one in death, the separation of living, breathing, heart pumping, you having access to call them on the phone, talk to them, hear their voice, interacting with you, negative or positive. When you have that separation of life, most people think that's grief. But let's be realistic. When a loved one passes on, we have a point where we come to terms that that person is gone, that they have clearly achieved their assignment on this earth and affected whatever changes, whether negative or positive, for the people that are part of their lives, whether it be co-workers, people in general that they run across, family, or friends. But at the end of their time, it comes to a point where we're like, hey, I am comfortable with recognizing that they have finished their assignment, and I am accepting of their life and whatever impact it had on mine. And I move on, and I grow from it, and I reflect on, where that has taken us. Both the deceased as well as me navigating through the rest of my life. Let's all agree that no one knows what your deadline is. I certainly don't. I have a plan for when I want my deadline, which is at 121. That means another 60 years for me. There are some that are a little bit more realistic based off of their parents' health and how long they lasted, and their grandparents, And yes, I agree, those are all factors. Whether they honor their mother and their father so that their lives will be longer than what the word says. But let's also talk about the other facets of grief. Grieving the separation from someone that you love, you care about, someone that's important to you, someone you respect, someone you enjoy being in their presence. When there is a separation from that relationship, that can be extremely painful. Particularly if it is not your desire to separate from that situation, relationship, friendship, family relation, whatever. But most people don't realize that it is a grieving process for the person that was not interested in separating. So oftentimes people that are part of a divorce, one of them go through this grieving process. The one that was caught by surprise, the one that was willing to keep working through and communicating to the best of their ability, to no avail. That person grieves the loss. Whether everybody agrees that it was for the best for him or not, or her or not, has nothing to do with the fact that that person is grieving the loss of someone they loved. Life is so short, and when you find someone that you love and someone that loves you and gives you, your person, you feel like you hit the jackpot. And then when the rug is pulled up from under you and you don't have an expectation of losing your person, and you're completely befuddled, you're confused, and you're wondering what the hell happened, that triggers grief. Most people don't recognize that as grief. Another way that you can lose a relationship is growing past the relationship that you initially had with someone, outgrowing them, or them outgrowing you, and you're separated because you're left behind. Or you have to move on and leave others behind. That triggers grief as well. Because sometimes you're like, I don't understand. We were both going through these same steps at the same time. Why is it that we're not advancing at the same time? But then you have to recognize that some people prioritize things in their lives. Like, for instance, me, I prioritize relationships. People will ask for me to loan them money, give them money, or whatever. I prefer not to do that. I definitely prefer not to loan money, because in my heart, if you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it, it does something to me as far as my ability to trust you. And for me to have a relationship with you, I require the ability to trust you. So when you violate my trust, I get angry, I get hurt, and I don't make myself available to you anymore. And I'm sure others do the same. That would trigger a level of grief. Let's take into consideration another facet of triggering grief would be, let's see. I did have a frame of mind. I'm trying to park the car. Let's consider when you have relationships with people and, excuse me, well, actually, it's a continuation on what I was saying when I was driving back there before I made this turn. You've had a certain type of relationship with folks, and you don't see them very often, but you see them from time to time, and they don't take into consideration that you have grown. Particularly people that you had a relationship with for 20, 30, 40 years or so. Oftentimes you run into people and they expect you to be exactly the same way that you were the last time they saw you in person. And so they want to communicate with you in that same way, even though you may have had a conversation with them, letting them know the things that you've learned over the last few years, how you feel that you have grown, and where your goals that you have recently set for yourself lies. But then they turn around and are blatantly disrespectful towards you. And when I say disrespectful, if we are all adults and you are not my parent or grandparent, aunt or uncle, anyone that should have been raising me and teaching me things, and if I fail to learn the lesson, you get sterner in your ability to communicate with me so I can recognize how important it is for me to learn this lesson that you're teaching. Those are the only times that are acceptable, in my opinion, of raising your voice and speaking to another adult. I don't believe that a supervisor, a boss, or a business owner has the right to talk to you in a disrespectful manner. I don't believe someone in church, someone that you meet on the street, someone that is helping you, or someone, just a random, or anybody that you know, has the right to sit there and speak to you in a disrespectful manner. They don't, even, someone that's a police officer, a judge doesn't even speak to you in a disrespectful manner. So why is it that there are some people that walk this earth that think that it is perfectly okay for them to raise their voice at you in such a disrespectful manner, as well as tone? Basically, then following with disrespectful language such as "shut up," not "be quiet," but "shut up." I don't even understand why that's part of our vocabulary. How about when they've asked you to help them, and then they start projecting things on you that you've never said, such as, "Oh, you think you know everything. You think you're all that. You think you're this, you're pretty. Oh, you think you're smarter than everybody." Well, I've always been pretty humble. I've never thought that I was prettier than anyone else, and I certainly never said that. I've never thought that I was smarter than anyone. I've certainly never said that. Matter of fact, I am the first person that will say, I don't know everything, but from my experience, this is what I've encountered, and this is what I've concluded, and maybe that'll be helpful to you. And sometimes I just keep it to myself. But if you ask me my opinion and my experience, I'll share that with you. I don't want to temper what I say and how I say it to folks, but I believe that I'm pretty respectful when I talk to people. So when I run into people who I respect and I love, and even if I don't know you, I give you a level of ground zero. You're not in the negative with me. If I just met you, you have a level of respect because you haven't lost it. I give you a certain level to show me whether I can trust you with more information or with more access to me. What, excuse me. With that said, I let you show yourself to me, and then I move accordingly. If I see that you have no respect for me, and you have no respect for my time, and you don't respect my presence, I'll exit stage right. I don't got a problem. I like my peace. I value my peace. And I didn't realize how valuable peace was until these last couple of years. I know you're probably wondering, what does this all have to do with grief? Well, it has a lot to do with grief, because when people violate my peace, I cut off access. And when I cut off access, and if I love you, and I valued the relationship that we had in the past, it triggers a level of grief with me. Almost as strong as me losing my husband. Well, no, I'd say stronger. I would put it on the same level as a divorce. A divorce that I did not want to be part of, but was inflicted on me anyway. I don't like it. I don't wish it to happen on anyone. I recognize it for what it is. Clearly, it's a lesson that I need to continue to learn and move on from it. But I'm not going to let it destroy me. I am now 61 and a month, almost 2 months old. And I am finally at a level where I'm not chasing down relationships. I'm not chasing down and trying to hold on to people that don't value me in their lives. If I'm not a priority in your life, you certainly are no longer going to be a priority in mine. Many of you who have had me in your lives for a long time remember when I used to literally go down my phone book every day, and I would call people over a month for everyone in that phone book to check on everybody, make sure everyone's okay. If they need anything, let you know I love you, and keep it moving. You know, being the eldest daughter, I've oftentimes had the responsibility to make sure that all the needs were met for everyone in my family, all of my siblings, cousins that were under me, checking in on my aunts, uncles, my many step-parents, my parents, my grandparents. And after my mom left or passed on, or actually before she passed on, you know, she had Alzheimer's for the last 13 years of her life. I assumed a lot of the responsibilities that she had, and that meant being there for members of the family that she had been responsible for, but I certainly was not at some point. And that's okay. You know, I was raised to be this way. I was built to be this way. I remember when I tried to hand over the reins to my brother when my dad passed, my birth certificate dad. And I told my brother, I said, well, technically, you're daddy's oldest. You know, it's time for you to step into that role. And, you know, I already saw him before he passed, and I'm good. I don't need to be at his funeral. And my brother said something that was very poignant to me. He says, well, you know, Mommy and Daddy raised you to be the oldest. They didn't raise me to be the oldest. I didn't learn the things that you learned. I was allowed to be a kid. I can't just step into that role. And I need you to be there. So, and I'm kind of funny like that. I you know, things, I'm oblivious to things until you present an argument and I decipher what you've said, and then I come to the conclusion of where I'm at with it. So when he said that to me, I had never thought about the fact that my parents had not prepared anyone else like they did me. Never crossed my mind why they were hard on me. Because, of course, to the younger siblings, it seemed to me that they were getting away with murder. Whereas the same infraction that I would have done at one point, I was going to be in severe trouble for. So when my brother said that to me, it was like this light bulb goes off. And I was like, oh my God, he's right. He never was taught how to be the oldest. How is it that I would have an expectation for him to step into his role of being the oldest when he was never taught that? So, of course, I went to the funeral. Good thing I went, because my sister from my mother, she needed me. She needed me to be there. My brother needed me to be there too. But there came a situation where she needed me to physically be there. I don't know where she would have been if I had not been there. She would have probably been emotionally scarred for the rest of her life had I not been there. So, thankfully, my brother could present his position to me in a way that I was going to be able to comprehend it, take it in, and make a decision that was going to benefit us all. Now, back to the grief. So, I tell people all the time, relationships are more valuable to me than any amount of money. I've always loved first. I've always trusted first. And then when people would show me whether they prioritized me as much as I prioritized them or not, I would try to prove to them I was worthy of being prioritized. I was always trying to prove myself. These last couple of years, I've come to the realization that I didn't have to do that. Why am I chasing down relationships if they don't value me? Why chase them down? Regardless of if they're calling me to help them, why am I doing all this work? Why am I adopting their bad behaviors as acceptable so I can help them? I'm not. I'm okay with loving you from a distance. I'm okay with helping you from a distance. I'm not okay with the disrespect. It is unacceptable. It's not going to be tolerated. If all I'm doing is presenting my most valuable asset to you is my time and my knowledge and my experience, and you meet it with angst, disrespect, elevated, inappropriate communication levels, I'm not going to have any parts of it. That's just an invitation for me to exit stage right, or for me to ask you to leave my theater. It's my world. You're my people until you're not. And I'm okay with you removing yourselves from me. Just make sure you're okay with me removing myself from you. All right. Grief. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But it's all part of growth. Love you. Peace.